Back in the first episode, we briefly touched on how we can use shorthand if statements, or ternary statements, in our double mustaches to provide a default header for our app. While that's a valid approach, Vue also provides us with the VF and VElse directives that let us conditionally render elements. We can use this in our app to show a message if we don't have any shopping list items. Let's start by commenting out the items in our items array. In our template, we can now add a paragraph tag with a VIF that only shows when there are no items. Hopping over to our browser, we can see that our empty state message is showing, and if we add a new item, then it goes away. While this is a great example of conditionally toggling one element, what if we wanted to show two different states? Let's see how to do that by hiding our add item form when we're not using it. Let's start by adding a state property to our data. We'll use this to manage when we should be toggling the add item form. We can initialize it to a string of default. Now we can add a VIF to our add item form wrapper div. We can set it to show when our state data matches edit. When we refresh the page, we can see that our form is no longer there because our conditional is false. If we inspect the elements, we can see that our form is missing in the DOM. That's because VIF actually toggles the existence of that element on the page. If we check out our Vue DevTools and set our state equal to edit, then we can see that our form reappears on the page. Let's add some buttons to show and hide the form. We can do that by wrapping our h1 in a div with a class of header. Then we can add two buttons, one for add item and the other for cancel. Now we can make use of the VElse directive. When we use VIF and VElse together, we can dynamically toggle elements based on how our conditional evaluates. In this case, we'll want to show the add item button when the state is default and the cancel button when it isn't. Looking at our browser, we can see that our form is hidden, and we can only see the add item button. If we change this with our Vue DevTools, we can see that our button switched and our form is now visible. Now we're ready to add another method that will be responsible for changing our state. We'll start by adding a change state property to our method's object. Then we can pass through a new state value and set it equal to our state. We'll also clear out our new item so we don't persist any half-finished items. Now we just need to add that to our buttons using our vOn directive. Back in our browser, we can see that clicking the buttons will now toggle our form.